Well then, Graham Potter. Keep or get rid? We're going to have a little debate for you guys on DR Sports now. Myself and Robbie back again. I think this video, because of the result last night, makes more sense now, right? We're talking about a man who has only managed Chelsea for 16 games, and already, Robbie, people are calling for his exit. You saw the scenes last night. He went over to clap the Chelsea fans. There was a mixed reaction. Some people were clapping back. Some people were giving it all that. Get out. Where do you stand on the debate? It's a tough one.
Do you know what? The thing is, right? The thing is, I like, when he was at Brighton, right? I liked Graham Potter because he's a really progressive manager. He plays good football. He builds something.
He does.
He builds something. Now, when he got the job at Chelsea, right from day one, I said to myself, is this the right job for Graham Potter? Because they're not the building club.
No.
They're a club where, it's instant. You know what I mean? They want things instantly. You see even how they operate in the transfer market. Even with the signing of João Felix, my club, for instance, Arsenal, were interested in him. Manchester United were interested in him. But we were all balking at the price and saying, oh, that's, for a loan fee. They just went, yeah, money. Here it all is. There's the money. We want him. They did the same thing last year with Rafinha when they tried to hijack that as well. So that is how Chelsea operate, right? So if you accept a job like that, you know what comes with it. Maybe not get rid immediately right now, but to me, he ain't got long. I mean, I know that, the Chelsea board have come out and said, no, this is a project, we're going to support him and that. But what if he loses his next 3 games? They're 10 points off the top 4 at the moment. But even more worryingly, they're 10 points off the drop zone.
Bang in the middle of the table, aren't they, right now?
This is terrible at the moment for Chelsea. Bit unlucky last night because they did start the game okay.
Yeah.
And I think João Felix was looking good. But, and I know that, it seems a bit rich for me saying it because, Mikel Arteta was at Arsenal and he's been given time. But it's a different dynamic at Arsenal. They said from day one, we're giving this guy time, and they stuck by it, and they've given. I don't think Chelsea is that type of club. Even you can see with the fans singing Thomas Tuchel's name already, and that they're not even giving him time. So, and I saw a picture of him yesterday, and he looked like he's aged about 10 years. He does look like he's out of his depth. I'm sorry. I mean, it's harsh to say. It's just, he's had a lot to put up with because there's so many injuries at the moment. But it's Chelsea. Other clubs with that amount of injuries can't cope. They can with their squad. They can cope with it. And he's not coping well enough. So he ain't got long for me.
Well, you mentioned that picture of him looking slightly aged. Is that a fair word to say?
Very aged.
I mean, he's been in the job since what? What are we talking, November? Because obviously he was there just before the World Cup and then he had all that time. I mean, I wouldn't speak down on a man's appearance, but he looks like the bags are starting to grow under the eyes. There's more lines on the forehead. That glow up that they spoke about when he joined. It's a bit suave. All that chat's gone now. This man, in my opinion, is almost fighting for his job right now.
Bags, man. Jeez.
The bags are there. Bags for life. Shout out to all the supermarkets. But for me personally, now I hear everything you've said, and how can I disagree with anything you've said? It makes sense. But Chelsea fans have to now get used to the fact that they're in the new era of their club, right? Abramovich has gone, long gone are the days with him around. But Todd Bowley, is he the man to give time? We haven't seen that.
He's saying he's going to give time. He's saying he's going to give time, but
like you said, if you carry on falling down that table, let's say if they lose their next 3, that would be, I think, 10 losses in the Premier League if they lose their next 3, which might not happen. They could turn it around. They've got Anfield next week without João Felix as well, by the way. But if they carry on losing, does that narrative of, no, it's a new project, it's a new Chelsea, because I've heard loads of people say that, new project, new Chelsea. Does that narrative of, no, he gets time, we're fully backing him, how quickly can that turn from high up to the manager level? How quickly can it go from, we're giving him time, to, well, our hands are tied, the results aren't there, we have to change? And then God knows where they go from there. But how quickly can it change?
Well, listen, he's got to change it around quick. He's got to change it around quick. As I said, it's a bit unfortunate because there's a lot of injuries at the moment, right? Even last night they lost Zachariah, who's been, been looking really, really good. That's another injury to add to the list, but they still got very, very good players. And there's a lot of players that are not playing to their. I mean, look at what's happened to Mason Mount.
Awful.
Normally he's like Mr. Reliable in that team. He's the guy that you can count on, Chelsea through and through. He's looking way off the pace at the moment. So, going through some of the comments here, this guy called Chelsea VC says, Potter is out of his depth. We can't trust this process. We don't have a team. We don't have time like Arsenal.
That's a good point.
And that's what I'm saying. They're a different type of club. Listen, if Todd Bowley's going to stick by him through thick and thin, then fair enough. If they're going to change the philosophy at Chelsea, and that philosophy is going to be one of building, then they must stick by him. They must keep the faith. But I just sense through even some of the fans at Chelsea, I think it's split. I think you've got those that are like, no, it's not your fault, Potter, injuries, you deserve time, there's been a lot for you to cope with, give him time. And there's others, when you hear him singing, we want our Chelsea back and stuff like that, who are saying to themselves, we had Thomas Tuchel, considered to be a world-class manager, and we've come and brought in a novice, and he's looking out of his depth. We want our Chelsea back. Let's change it. So, it really is split at the moment, and he needs to get some wins under his belt very, very quickly, or that split starts to become, I've seen it before at Arsenal. It starts to quickly grow and move to the other side. So he needs to start getting some wins in sharpish. Not a position that Chelsea fans are used to being in.
No, for sure. Well, right now we've done a poll in the chat for you. Get rid, keep the faith. Right now, it's not looking good. The 71% are saying keep the faith. We've only just started this poll 5 minutes ago, so it will run on. But did you see, Robbie, the video last night of? And this was strange for me. He didn't get in the team coach with the rest of the players. I mean, it's probably only down the road. It was Fulham, so maybe they all just got Ubers home. But did you see the video? He's walking out to the car. He's got a bit of an entourage that are pushing people out of the way, making sure he can get past. A lot of the Chelsea fans who were filming him walking into the car were saying, keep the faith. You're still the man. We can get out of this mess. So it is split, like you say.
It's split. It's split at the moment. He's got to get wins. I mean, this game turns on wins, right? This is their next set of games. Crystal Palace this weekend, all right.
No easy game that, though.
You'd expect them to win that because Palace ain't playing very well at the moment either. That's another manager under pressure at the moment, Patrick Vieira. But not the easiest game before. Palace might fancy that. They might say to themselves, well,
Good time to play Chelsea.
Great time to play Chelsea. Then they got Liverpool away. I mean, that's a tough game at any time. Then they got to play Fulham again, this time at the Bridge. And remember, for those 3 games, Felix is going to be missing.
So he'll be back.
Then they go away to West Ham. That's not easy either. Well, even though I know West Ham are under extreme pressure themselves at the moment because their manager as well hasn't been performing, and he's under pressure. It's never easy to go. West Ham versus Chelsea is a big derby game. Then they got the Champions League game away at Dortmund. That's going to be tough. And then a bit easier, Southampton. But then at the end of February, away at Spurs. Again, another game that their fans demand something to happen in. So he hasn't got like an easy run of games coming up. He's got quite a difficult run of games coming up, but he needs something. Kayla here says Chelsea's so bad, but keep Potter. I don't know.
I agree with that.
I don't know if that's him bantering it or if that's him just being.
I would say you have to keep him. I know your side of the argument is he's out of his depth. He's a novice replacing potentially a world-class manager who did win the Champions League, by the way. I mean, there's even talks that if he does go, they'll just call Tuchel back up.
Let me ask you, I don't think they'll call Tuchel because he fell out big time with the owner.
Yeah.
And that's why they got rid of him, right? But let me ask you this, right? As a Liverpool fan, right? Liverpool come in there next week. Who would you fear more? Liverpool coming up there with Potter in charge or Liverpool coming there with Tuchel?
Probably Tuchel. if I'm honest.
Probably, for me, definitely. Because you're knowing Tuchel is coming with some tactics. He's coming, you know what I mean? I don't know, man. With Potter's not in that same. Yeah. He doesn't have that same gravitas.
Not that fear factor. I mean, if Chelsea turned up with a Conte, for example, then it would be a fearsome fixture because he is a manager who has shown that he can get instant success. Maybe not at Tottenham so far, but maybe that was the move that they should have done.
Yeah, he should have went to Tottenham, really. Yeah. Which is actually they wanted him, and it should have been the other way around. And Conte went to Chelsea because he's more fit for Chelsea.
Let me ask you this though, Rob: what would happen to the career of Graham Potter if he did move on from Chelsea? He did get the sack.
It'd be a massive dent, but he can come again.
Because it wouldn't be a top 6 club, surely.
Nah, but there's a lot of clubs out there that, you know, when you even look across the league, you know what I mean? All right, West Ham are struggling at the moment. You know what I mean? They have more patience there. Maybe a club like that, I think he could do a good job at. I think he could do a good job at a Southampton. He could do a good job at...
So is that his level that we're talking about now?
I think it's starting, at the moment, it's looking like that. You know what? Listen, as an Arsenal fan, I never really want to see Chelsea do well. But on a personal level, I would have liked to have Graham Potter to do well because I do want to see the English managers do well. There's not enough English managers at the top of the Premier League. You know what I mean? If you look at you look at the top 6 at the moment, you know what I mean? I think it's all foreign managers, isn't it? You know, your manager, Klopp, foreign manager, Arteta, foreign manager, Pep, you know, they're all foreign managers, right? You know, Ten Hag, you know what I mean?
Eddie Howe, though, is up there with
Eddie Howe's the only one, actually, Eddie Howe's the only one breaking the mould at the moment. Yeah. And I do think it's important, you know, for the English managers to do well because I want to see more English managers doing well, but at the moment he's looking a little bit like he's out of his depth. I have to admit. Don here says, Robbie, we have quantity but not quality. That's Don. But at the start of the season, there were a lot of people saying that Chelsea had the best transfer window. They spent £270 million. That's what it was said, right? You know, even with all the injuries yesterday, when you look at their team, let me see if I can get their team up that played last night. You know, it's still not terrible, is it?
I mean, you know, the starting 11 that they put out last night certainly had some weaknesses in it. You look at the left-back position in Hall, no Chilwell.
Yeah, but that Hall is supposed to be one of their up-and-coming youngsters. They you know, we've always been told about how great an academy, which it is. Cobham is. So, you know, in goal, Kepa, Chalobah, Thiago Silva and Koulibaly. That's their back three. Aspilicueta, Mount, Zakaria, Kovacic, Hall, João Felix and Havertz. Now you tell me, is that
team should not be losing to Fulham.
That is no weak team. That is a team. Yeah, there's a lot of injuries there, but that's a good team. That is a very, you know, Havertz, how much did he cost? 60, 70 million.
70 odd, yeah.
João Felix, you know, I mean, he's a £130 million player. You know, the only novice in there is Hall. You can't even put Chalobah in there because he's a very experienced player now with the amount of games he's played. Kepa, the most expensive goalkeeper in the world.
True. Awful mistake for the second goal.
Yeah, Koulibaly considered, you know...
Scored a goal last night, Koulibaly, but...
People used to say Koulibaly or Van Dijk, Koulibaly or Van Dijk. You know what I mean? So is he getting the best out of those players? You know, on the bench, he had Ziyech, he had Gallagher, he had the Fofana, the new guy they brought in, he had Aubameyang, Jorginho. This is not... You know what I mean? I'm sorry. It's not like when you see certain teams and they're down to their bare bones. Their bare bones is still got loads of meat on it. So
it's a good shout.
This is what you're managing when you're at Chelsea. You know what I mean? So it lessens your excuses. You know what I mean? If it was another club, you know, he'd have a bit more, but it lessens your excuses when you're managing a club like this. And at the moment, he's looking a bit out of his depth, you know?
Well, Chelsea fans in the comments, let us know. We've still got the poll up. 30% of you still saying get rid, a third of you, and keep the faith, 69%. Daily Smith in the comments, players suit different managers though. That is a valid point. And that's why you could say that argument stands up, because look at the players of much less quality he had at Brighton and look how well they worked.
Oh, is that because he's out of his depth and managing big players?
Potentially. I mean, I had some Brighton lads from the Seagull Social podcast on COP TV yesterday. We were doing a preview and they said it's not necessarily the personnel, it's the fact that you could get rid of a Potter, you can get rid of a Trossard. The person that comes in to replace them, the system's already there.
Yeah.
So you're just doing your role within the team.
But what is this system at the moment?
For Chelsea,
he doesn't know what his system is. I don't know what the system is. I knew when Tuchel was there, I knew what the system was from day one. I don't know what the system is at the moment.
But you need time to set up a system.
Of course you need time. I get that. You need time. You do. You know, it is harsh. It is unfair. But it's Chelsea. And that's how they've been operating over the years. It's a harsh environment. Yeah. It's a team that is built to win. And if you come in and you're not winning, out you go. In comes the next guy. Now, as I said, the new guy's saying that, Todd Bowley's saying that, no, we're going to be different from now on. But how long? I don't care what he says. We know how football works. We all know how it works,
especially
right?
At Chelsea.
You lose their next 2-3 games. You know, I mean, if the next month is as bad as it's been the past couple of months, I don't think Potter will survive.
What about this point here in the comments? It was talking about strikers being on the bench. So Raphael says, how stupid can you be when you're 2-1 down, even at 1-1, you're keeping 2 strikers on the bench? What do you make of his in-game decisions to bring on players? I mean, we saw last night 4 players came on and they weren't a striker.
There's obviously an issue with Aubameyang, right? Because, you know, you've got Aubameyang, as bad as he's been, but he's a striker and you need a goal and the game's running out and he didn't bring him on. You know, there's obviously, you know, we know it weren't his signing. You know, I mean, he was signed for Tuchel, but there's obviously a problem that he's got with Aubameyang, right? He brought on Ziyech. I don't know. He's just not doing it. I mean, as I said, he's got a lot of injuries, but they've got a very good squad. They've still got a lot of options. But it's just not happening. I mean, you know, to be fair to them, I thought they were playing all right in the first. You know, they playing all right. They came back in early in the second half. And I was looking at him thinking, Chelsea could go on and win this one, and then, you know, João Felix gets sent off and very stupidly.
Against his old
Willian.
To rub salt in the wounds.
I know.
I mean, if it wasn't bad enough, the man who, well,
I know.
Willian scoring against Chelsea.
Some more comments here. Joshua says, Potter is a project-type manager. You give him time or you let him go and bring in someone that can coach the current team that will play for an experienced manager, and that's where I'm coming from. I'm with you on that, Joshua. Yeah. Billy says also Potter changes tactics too much. You can do that at a mid-table club, but a big club, you can't do that because every opponent tends to sit back against you. Again, another great point. That is true. There's a big difference to managing a club like Chelsea than there is to, you know.
For sure
you know, Lampard was doing better.
Yeah, some shouts in the comments from John Jones saying Lampard looks 70 now. We were talking about Graham Potter aging. Trust me, Everton job ages you as well. Also another comment coming here from Joseph who says Potter is on a 6-year deal. Let's not forget as well, Robbie, they had to pay 20 million to get him and his staff to Chelsea. They would have to pay 20 million again to sack him.
I think as well, this is one of the reasons why the owner's thinking to himself, I don't want to get rid of him quick because, you know, not only have I spent loads and loads of money in bringing him in, what about all the backroom staff that I bought them all in from Brighton? I mean, it's Brighton 2.0, isn't it, at the moment?
Basically.
And they're in about the same position as Brighton.
Well, Brighton are three places ahead of them right now.
Virilis says, in Todd B we trust, Potter's project must go on.
See, I think I would agree with that, but I also at the same time admit that it's probably a minority slightly of Chelsea fans who also share that opinion. I mean, Matisse, bless him. I haven't even seen the geezer this week.
Serve him right, because he's some of the things he said about Arsenal. Serve you right, Matisse. Show says,
savage.
This is an issue. Owners and boards get away with murder now because fans always jump on the manager. But the owner, I think the owner has given him so much resources. It's unbelievable. Yeah. As I said, you know, straight away, you know what I mean, when other teams are stalling on, you know, João Felix, bang, he brings him in. You know what I mean? I don't think... Listen, the owner's been a bit... The problem at Chelsea's been there's no plan. There's no plan to what they do. Just go out there.
Scattergun.
Yeah, that player's a great player. Get him. Does
this isn't FIFA,
but does
Robbie.
he suit the system? No. Does he suit what Graham Potter's plan is? There doesn't seem to be a plan, but he's brought in all the Brighton guys to help him out, and I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, if you're at the game last night, even let us know what the atmosphere was like in and amongst that away end at Chelsea. I think it's at Fulham, so I think it's a bit of a neutral end they've got away at Fulham, which is quite interesting. I've sat in it a few times, but those chants from the Chelsea fans, "We want our Chelsea back." The game before, "We want Tommy Tuchel." I mean, it can't be nice.
It's
right?
ominous.
Can't be nice if you're looking over at the away end and hearing songs like that.
It's ominous. It's ominous. Ashok says the recruitment of Chelsea Football Club at Chelsea Football Club has been embarrassing. Raphael says Mount, Havertz, Koulibaly, transfer list, please. Yeah, he just bought Koulibaly in the summer. Yeah. And he was like rated as one of the top players, in Italian football.
For a long time.
Raphael says I would swap Casido and McAllister for Mount right now. Again, more just going out there and trying to get more players. It ain't going to work. Got to work with the ones who, Adam 12 says 300 million on a worse team.
I mean, they've spent almost 400 million since Todd's come in. I just wanted
Cabo
to read out
14. I'll just do his last one. He says Potter is paid to find solutions so that the team functions. He isn't doing that, and that is the reason he isn't good for Chelsea. And at the elite level, is he an elite manager?
This is the question that we're asking you. Matt Law from the Daily Telegraph, a respected journalist, says just under 2 hours ago, he says, if Chelsea remain true to their word and back Potter, then the club would be better not to spend anything else in January and wait until the summer to use money on proper long-term targets. This season is pretty much done, he says. So wait for the players to come back from injury and then plan properly. I would actually agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, how much more money are you going to spend? How many more players are you going to buy? You have the when everybody's fit, what do you do with the players? I mean, it's a whole different job than when he was at Brighton. It's a whole different animal, Chelsea. I mean, as I said, they've effectively got nearly 3 teams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you've got to manage all of those players. It's a really, really tough job. King of the Indies says Tuchel wasn't elite either. Well, you could argue he was. He won the Champions League. You win the Champions League, you're an elite manager. I'm sorry. Reggie says, if that bum can't see that bum, Jesus.
Scathing here.
That's scathing, man. If that bum can't see that Havertz is an enemy of progress, then he clearly isn't good enough. Tuchel had the cojones to drop that fraud. Potter doesn't. Jeez. Josh says, give savage. Potter the same treatment that Arsenal gave Arteta.
Well, that is whatever you want to make of it. Chelsea fans, this is definitely a video for you guys to continue commenting on after we finish live here on DR Sports. The conversation will carry on. They've got another game at the weekend. The conversation will carry on. And it goes again.
Yeah, I think he has to win that. He has to beat Palace.
Has to beat Palace now.
If not, it starts to become fever pitch.
It really does. And it almost was really towards the end of the game as he was entering his motor vehicle to get home. But listen, as I said, the poll is still up. Right now it stands at a very split 30-70. 30 saying get rid, 70 quite surprisingly are saying keep the faith. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. AGT and Robbie here on DR Sports. We'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.